Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time I was made to watch My So-Called Life.
Yes, we finally gotten there. It's the TV show. If you are approximately my age, so you were born between, 1973 and 1982. That's all I have to say. Like, that's it. That's the podcast. We talked about the show and that's it. But I will attempt to put my feelings into words for those of you who are not in that demographic, because this show was everything to us girls at that age. And it's one of those where when you watch it later in life, it has different meaning and it just it resonates so much. And I was just saying, I don't know if I can do the show justice. I'm sure I will ramble, but the ones that get it. So we're gonna have a time. So yes, this is the 1994 teen drama that ran on ABC for not even a full season and introduced Claire Danes to the world. Also Jared Leto. Also poor sad Brian Krakow, aka Devin Gummersall, who did, fun fact, if you watched The Pit earlier this year, he's in that as one of the dads. And I read some things about him that were like, he's unrecognizable. Yes, he is, because all of his hair is gone. So he went on to some things. Ricky went on to some things, but it's mostly the Claire Danes and Jared Leto show. This ran from whenever the TV season starts to August, September until January. And then it went on hiatus and never came back. And we were all very sad because there's storylines that needed an end and all these things. But sometimes it's better to leave when people still want more, better to burn out than fade away, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay. So Dave, we have talked about how there's a lot of the sort of Gen X girl media that you have encountered because of your former stepsister. But I don't think she was your stepsister in 1994. So have you come across this?
I don't know if she was my stepsister in 1994. Yeah. Yeah, yes and no. I think didn't they rerun this on MTV?
Yeah.
Into the Ground.
Yeah.
So I think I picked up the occasional episode snippet here and there, enough to know the players and what the show was about. But yeah, it was not on my radar.
No. Okay. Well, I think you would have, I don't know. See, you've talked about how you didn't like all the quote unquote girl stuff, and this is very girl coded, but I think there's a lot of stuff that you could have related to
maybe
as well. But well, I should confess, somehow I didn't watch the full run, haha. Not that it was very long, of the series when it was on. I think I was a senior in high school. I think I had a very heavy babysitting schedule then. I must have, because I watched a lot of it, but not the whole thing. But then I discovered the rest of it later and just, yeah. For me, the feelings that this evokes can be summed up in sort of a sensory memory. And this is going to sound weird. You know, when someone is cooking pasta, that is something where there's a lot of boiling water and steam for an extended amount of time, and it's cold outside. And the steam from the pasta condenses on the windows.
Yeah.
Because it's cold outside and warm inside.
Sure.
And the whole room just sort of smells kind of steamy and saucy, and it's warm and a little bit humid, and it feels very safe inside because it's cold outside, and you're going to have pasta and everything's great. And are you getting me? Is this a sensory memory for you? Or is it just me?
I think it's just you. I mean, at this table, it's just you. I'm sure that sounds like something that somebody would connect with, but.
Okay. Well, for me, that is so that's, a night in late fall, early winter. It's cold outside. It's dark. Everyone's inside. You feel safe and cared for. and there's something to look forward to. And just as a sensory memory, that is tied up with this show for me. I don't know why, but it is. Something about the fall and the cold of it all. I don't get it. But okay, so let's talk about the show.
All right.
Maybe I will come down from my high place of just feelings and sense memories and be able to talk about it better. So, okay, so you knew vaguely about this, but you hadn't seen this before. So we watched the first 2 episodes, the pilot and the second one. Let me look up what the name of the episode was. The pilot, we meet Angela Chase, who's a sophomore in high school, and her parents, Graham and Patty, and her younger sister, Danielle, who we don't really see very much. I think she comes up later in the series. But in general, poor Danielle is a neglected child. And I feel like 20 years from then, there's going to be a series about Danielle's so-called life, except my sister was sucked up all the attention. But anyway, when we meet her, you get the feeling that she's had her life choices sort of made for her up to this point. Her best friend is the daughter of her mother's best friend. And the 2 moms have been friends since high school. And it's kind of like, we had our babies a month apart and they're best friends and they're going to do that. And like, and nothing wrong with the best friend, but Angela just feels like I want something else. And she's hanging out with Rayanne Graff, who is the bad girl at school. And God bless Rayanne. And she's sort of it's a little bit like the relationship in Mean Girls, where you haven't seen Mean Girls, have you?
No.
Oh my God. What kind of exennial girl are you that you haven't seen this? But Janice and Damien plus Katie is the same as Rayanne and Ricky and Angela, basically. Rayanne is always hanging out with Ricky Vasquez, who is this sort of, I can't even remember how much he must have blown all of our minds in 1994. He's clearly male, but wears eyeliner and other kinds of makeup and has sort of some feminine mannerisms, and he hangs out with Rayanne in the girls' bathroom. And it's funny, like you see some girls come in during scenes and they sort of recoil, like, why is he here? And the others are just like, whatever, that's just Ricky. He's not doing anything. And so Angela is pulled into a lot more, a much more exciting life, and also a little bit more dangerous one. And she does scary things, like she dyes her hair red in the first couple scenes of the pilot. And when I tell you, looking at this now, I'm like, that is what passed for rebellion at the time. Yeah. Like, you see that color on like kids way younger now, and it's completely not a big deal. And I don't, if I had a daughter, I would not want her coloring her hair at 15, but as colors go, this is not a big deal. It's, what is it called? Crimson Sunshine, she says, but it's like a cinnamon
like
color.
A burgundy kind of. Yeah.
And also, I cannot overstate the hold that kind of hair color had on us in the late 90s. I was very big into sort of a chocolate cherry, like a burgundy color. I had several times when I dyed my hair that color. My hair at the time was very dark brown, but I put that on top, and not very well. I'm sure there were like streaks where there was a lot of chocolate cherry and some where there was none. But we were very into red hair at the time, is all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But this shocks her parents. And anyway, like I said, it's sort of funny that this is what passes for major rebellion. Like, there's no piercings, there's no tattoos involved. It's not even, it's a fairly normal color.
Yeah.
But also, when I think about what would have happened if I came home with that hair color, my parents would have reacted probably similarly. So yeah. Anyway, Angela stops hanging out with the former best friend, whose name is Sharon, who is very, like, she's in yearbook and she's very concerned with doing high school right, you know?
Yeah.
And is hanging out more with Ray and Ricky, who are just sort of messy in a way that you're not really supposed to be if you're in high school on television. And so they're a lot of fun to watch. I feel like they would be exhausting in person, but that that you kind of need a friend like that in high school who, on the one hand, makes you want to reach past your safe little life, but on the other, makes you grateful for your safe little life. I had a friend like that. She lived a block up the street from me, and her mom seemed extremely glamorous to me. She had like bleach blonde hair. And one time she told the friend and me that she had had sex with her husband every single night of their marriage. And let me tell you, 15-year-old me was like, oh, that's what I'll do when I'm married.
That sounds exhausting. Jeez.
Right.
Started up the cough box there. Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
Yes.
That's all I'll say about that.
But, and this is, this is 30 years later. And so what have I inserted in my memories? What actually was she like? But in my memory, like, there was incense in their house, and there was beaded curtains, and it was kind of a Victorian house. And there was probably lots of lace and antiques and all sorts of things. Whereas my house we had antiques, but it was just sort of dusty, and we clipped coupons and we were very frugal. And my parents, as far as I'm concerned, had sex twice to have my brother and me. And that was only because it was strictly necessary. Like after that, they were like the couple in Meaning of Life. Yes.
We have 2 children.
Yes.
We've had sex twice.
They left room for the Holy Spirit. They shook hands when they were feeling really, really affectionate. So definitely not having sex every night. But yeah, I would hang out at her house and I would be like, wow, this is fantastic. I wish my family was cool like this. But then I'd see stuff and I was like, oh yeah, my family's kind of boring, but I don't have to put up with that. So
yeah.
And also what I've learned about that family since then, I'm like, yeah, maybe I had the better end of the deal. But all that to say, I think at that age, you need a Rayanne type of person. And the Rayans need Angela's to see like, okay, here's this other kind of family that's different than mine. And there's some things that are better and some things that are not. And you just see that other families are different than yours. And in some cases, it's not better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
Which I think is, for some kids, very important. You need to see like your way is not necessarily the best way. There's a whole lot of ways to be a family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. For me, that friend was named Jason, and he latched onto me in first grade when I changed schools because I was too honest.
Oh yeah. You were the popular kid. I remember this.
We became friends, and we were friends for like 3, that's the 3 years through third grade, because that school went through third grade. And then in fourth grade, we went to different schools or something. He moved away. I can't remember what the circumstance was. But yeah, going over to his house, his mom sold Mary Kay.
Oh.
And his dad was a sound engineer who worked like local clubs and stuff. And his uncle was in a local hair metal band called Alias Mangler.
What does it even mean?
I don't know. Yeah, and his dad had long hair, and this was before I had long hair. And my dad had long hair at that time too. So I was like, it's kind of yeah. And I think his dad was kind of a bum in the similar way that my dad was, but his parents were still married, and he was just a troublemaker, and he was always reading ninja magazines and ordering throwing stars from the ninja magazines that we would throw at the barn in his backyard. And it was a very different world, not in the same way that you're describing, but that is my like touchstone for the same thing of like having a friend whose home life is very different.
Yeah.
And I would walk over to his house from my grandmother's house, and like his parents would show up at like 9:00 at night. His mom was doing some Mary Kay party, and his dad was working some local Lions Club meeting, or working the sound at some public meeting or something. It was a very different experience. But yeah, that was my version of that.
Wow. And did his parents have sex every night, or? You didn't get into that.
Uncertain.
Okay.
I did see Alias Mangler one time, and they were, in fact, and I got an autographed picture.
Wow.
Of Alias Mangler.
Do you still have it?
I hope so. I hope it's buried deep somewhere. But yeah, that's that was my Jason was my, and we were we would play on the playground by ourselves. Like off in a part of the playground we weren't even supposed to be in. He was like a real troublemaker in that way. They'd be like, "Don't go to that part of the playground because there's a open sewer pipe or something," and we would be like, they would have to run over and we were like halfway down the sewer pipe, and they would be like, "Yeah, get up, get away from there." It was a very bad influence. He called us the Danger Kids, and we.
That's flipping amazing.
Oh,
that's a fantastic name.
It was great, and the Danger Kids had a cadre of supervillains, and one of the ones that we were fighting in the sewer was called Dookie Man. And that's why we had to go in the sewer to fight Dookie Man. Because who else is going to do it except for Thunder and Lightning, the Danger Kids?
The Danger Kids. Thunder and Lightning were the Danger Kids?
Lightning
that seems like you need
I don't know.
Chaos and chaos and bloodshed of the Thunder Kids.
I don't know. That was
the Danger Kids.
That was the Danger Kids.
Anyway, okay. So yes, that friend who introduces you to new things. The other thing that we learn in the pilot, besides the fact that Rayanne is troubled, is that Jordan Catalano exists.
Yeah.
And so if you say to a woman in the age range, what did I say?
Previously discussed.
72 to 83, something like that. If you say to her, "I just like the way he leans," there is a very good chance, higher than 66%, that she will say, "He leans great." Because that is what Angela says about Jordan. And I have not come across a better way of describing the crush that you have on a person that you've only seen. Mm-hmm. You've never had a conversation with them. You've probably not even spent time in a room with them. This person always has like an outsized social presence. Everybody knows about them, but not many people know them. And you've created this whole fantasy in your head of who they are, and you just watch them all the time. And I just like the way he leans.
Yeah.
Like, the way that Jordan Catalano has shaped my ideas of what boys should be, not really men, boys, and what a crush can be. And most women my age, I have to say, like, I can't even tell you. Mm-hmm. I've talked before about the writer Anne Helen Peterson, who is sort of a cultural studies observer and a brilliant writer. And so the sort of the microgeneration between Gen X and millennial, they call Xennial, approximately that, mid 70s to mid 80s, that 10 years or so. And you and I are both in that. Mm-hmm. Her proposal is that we call that the Jordan Catalano generation.
Okay.
And for the girls, 100%, because if you were a white girl in the 90s, like this was your jam, and just saying Jordan Catalano just shapes everything. There's an episode later. I'm trying to like keep our podcast episode to these first two episodes, but it's not really a spoiler to say that Jordan and Angela get together later in the series. Mm-hmm. But he's not good at relationships, shocker. And he doesn't really show any affection in public, or won't like acknowledge that they're having some kind of relationship. And there's a scene where he starts holding her hand in the hallway in front of everybody, which is like a big deal on the level of like the Good Friday Peace Accords, like earth shattering in a high school thing. And the way that it's shot and the way the music is used, and just everyone is seeing him take her hand, and it is just like, I can't even tell you how many teenage girls just screamed in glee as they watch his hand swoop down to take hers. And like, just talking about it, like my heart is fluttering just all over stupid hand holding in a high school hallway. So Jordan Catalano is every person that you've ever had a crush on that you could not possibly have, except in this case, she gets him. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think it was a good thing in the end, but it's a pity that Jared Leto turned out to be whatever he turned out to be.
Such a Jared Leto.
Yes. But at the time, like, he was beautiful, and he's so Jordan Catalano is not a smart person.
Yeah.
But he's the kind of not smart where he just doesn't talk very much. So you can fill in your own interpretation. And you can imagine that he's not talking because he's thinking these deep thoughts.
Mm-hmm. But
then he says things like, doesn't feel like a Friday when it's in fact Thursday. Yeah. Like, sir, there is a reason it doesn't feel like a Friday. It's not a Friday. He also has a band called Frozen Embryos, which is
nice,
fantastic name. Not quite as good as the Zit Remedy band that they had on the Degrassi series, but pretty good. And at one point, he writes a song that's called Red, and I remember the chorus. It goes, "I call her Red, yeah, 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 yeah," like that level of songwriting.
Yeah.
And Angela assumes that it's about her because her hair is red. No, folks, it's not about her. It's about his car.
Nice.
So, not an emotionally intelligent man, but so pretty. And the way he leans, like, I can't even, like, tell me that this is an experience. Do you understand this as or is it only girls who have this level of crush that they build up in their head?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. It's only girls.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, which part are you saying this to?
I don't know. I don't remember there being a male equivalent. There are like a lot of male equivalents, but not like to that extent. You know, like usually that's already like the trope is different for women. It's the woman is expected to be dumb, you know, beautiful but dumb.
Yeah.
Whereas, the Jordan Catalano thing is he is beautiful and dumb.
Yeah.
But the expectation is that he's some grand like thinker, that he's, you know, he's constructing poetry nonstop in his head instead of talking.
Yeah. Well, and the idea that like every moment of your relationship, which is not even really a relationship, is just so fraught with meaning and is all building up to something great and grand. And I think now that I think about it, I think the in Can't Hardly Wait, Amanda what's-her-face, the Jennifer Love Hewitt character, is kind of the Jordan Catalano for boys.
Yeah, I guess.
I should say for straight boys, and Jordan Catalano is for straight girls. I'm sure there's gay equivalents for both boys and girls, but probably not those two. So
maybe.
Although in the 90s, I don't we wouldn't have thought that much about it. Speaking of gay crushes, we should talk about Ricky Vasquez. So, like I said before, he wears eyeliner, and there's this great. He's over at Angela's house, and Angela's mom sees him and is just so shocked by his appearance. Which, again, same as the red hair. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Well, like considering that we're coming off of hair metal, like, have you ever seen like peak Bret Michaels from Poison? Or, you know, Motley Crue, like.
Well, I don't think Patty Chase had ever seen those people either. So,
well, I don't know. They were pretty mainstream. But I'm saying, like, we are coming off of in '94. The last decade was full of men wearing women's makeup and looking very feminine.
Yeah.
So the idea that that all of a sudden in 1994, a man with you know foundation and blush and eyeliner.
Yeah.
Was shocking. Was like, have you heard of Alice Cooper? Have you seen the New York Dolls? Have you looked at any hair metal band? Alias Mangler, for instance.
To be fair, Alice Cooper and Alias Mangler were not sitting next to your kids in geometry class. But anyway, so Patty is just so horrified by his appearance, and she says, what is his deal? And Angela says, I don't know, maybe he's bi. And Patty is like, how do you know what bisexual is? What does that even mean? He's a child. He can't even, he doesn't know anything. And I was like, oh, I know this song. Okay.
Yeah. Patty, of course, played by
Bess Armstrong.
Is that the actress'
Yes.
name? Yeah. It's like, it's another one of those, like,
Who, I hadn't seen her in anything else.
I've seen her in a ton of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, she, by the way, is a character that I relate to now as an adult, which really hurts my heart because I want to be Angela or Rayanne, and no, I'm Patty. But yeah, it was interesting on this go around, she says that, like, he's a child, he doesn't know. And that was interesting because, of course, now we say that about kids who say, no, I'm trans. You thought I was this and now I'm this, and we say they don't know. Mm-hmm. And I think have we pretty well accepted that no, kids know who they're attracted to, that they're attracted to boys or girls or both or whatever. But
I have, certainly. Sure.
We haven't reached that level of acceptance with gender identity. So watching that made me think, oh, in 20, 30 years, are we going to be okay with trans kids?
Sure.
Or will we will we at least, for the most part, give kids the respect of saying, okay, you know what you know about yourself. I'm not good. Like, I may not understand the identity that you are claiming for yourself, but I respect that you are claiming it.
I don't know if parents ever will ever, I don't know if they'll ever be able to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll just sort of become accepted. Like, I think I don't think all parents, will be able to say that.
Well, that's true. There are some parents who will never accept anything, but hopefully we are not those parents.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but Ricky was a very groundbreaking character in a way that I didn't realize at the time. Now, keep in mind, this is fall of '94. This is a year or so after the Pedro, the real life person, Pedro, was on The Real World, and showed, he dated, he got married, he was living with AIDS, and then, like, the day that the final episode of that season aired was when he died of complications of AIDS. And I think for a lot of people in our generation, Pedro was one of the first gay people that we, quote, knew.
Yeah.
And then Ricky was the second. And I think, I don't have the list here of like all the firsts that the character of Ricky was, but he was one of the first openly gay characters, or maybe the first openly gay teenage character on TV, and a gay person of color too, which was also groundbreaking. And the actor himself is gay and was clear when he was doing media stuff about it, like, Ricky is gay and I am gay too, which I thought which again is one of those things that doesn't feel like a big deal now, but I think then when being gay was this sort of foreign thing that you didn't talk about.
Oh yeah.
Like to say, oh yeah, this is my background. It's not something that I created. It's not scary. It's who and what I am. Anyway.
Yeah.
Ricky was a groundbreaking character. And unfortunately, I think he plays into that sort of gay best friend thing, which we talked a little bit about when we talked about My Best Friend's Wedding. I think that was big in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't love that. But later in the series, he gets a little bit of his own life. And there's a heartbreaking arc where he comes out to I think he's living with his aunt and uncle, and they kick him out. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the Christmas episode. And so, of course, it's cold.
Yeah.
And he has nowhere to go. And I think he ends up staying with Angela for a while, which causes the parents all sorts of consternation. And he ends up living with one of the teachers at the school, who it turns out the teacher is gay also. Mm-hmm. And it's this reveal when character's name is Mr. Katimsky, which is such a great dorky name.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about your last name, but some last names are just unfortunate. And that's, and Mr. Katimsky has been trying to be, supportive in the classroom and everything. And finally it ends up that he's taking Ricky home with him to stay. And then there's this reveal of the door opens and there's another man there, and you understand, oh my God, he's one of them too, you know, which on all this, like, and now it's sort of sad. I don't think that a teacher could have a student live with them because it would be all this suspicious stuff, particularly if both of them are gay, like, you know, but at the time it was like this sign of the teacher is trusting the student to reveal this part of himself, and it's all very sweet.
Yeah.
And Mr. Katimsky was played by the character actor Jeff Perry, who I don't know if you know who he is, but he's been in a ton of stuff. You would know him if you see him. And he just had that sort of awkward, well-meaning air, and he was very good.
Yeah.
But all that to say, Ricky Vasquez is an icon, and the world needs more of him.
It's a character that is like surprisingly. It's not played for laughs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like surprisingly respectful for the time, which I think is, you know, part of what this show is good at doing is taking these young people and their like young people problems and not belittling them.
Yeah.
And including not making fun of the gay, not making him the butt of the joke. Like he is bullied and stuff, but he's not there to say something outlandishly flamboyant at the right moment.
And he's not always flipping his wrists and saying, girl, like, yeah. Which, when you consider, we also had what In Living Color was on at the same time, which was
like any number of things were happening.
Yeah.
We actually had a Ricky at my school. He was not quite as flamboyant, but because I had long hair, I got lumped in with the metal kids, which put me in like the group of alternative people in high school. So, you know, and I started high school in 94, when did I start high school? I don't remember.
93.
And so, so I ended up becoming associated with this guy. I think his name was Michael, if I remember. And that was like, for me, that was one of those things where like, I had that realization of like, oh, gay people are just like regular people.
Yeah.
Because I got to like just be in the presence of this guy and also see how he would like switch it on and off. When he was around a lot of people, he would be a little bit more on, you know, with the acting out.
Yeah.
Not like he was acting gay. He was just much more outgoing. And then when it would just be like me and him and this one other girl in particular, where we always would skip school together and like go get lunch and come back, he was much more reserved. Like it was almost like when he was in a big group, like he was the gay guy. So he had to be the gay guy, you know, and he was, you know, and then when it was just the three of us, like he was under no pressure to perform for me or her. And so he was just like, you know,
normal,
almost
himself,
unrecognizable as it, but was all. I mean, he always, you know, it wasn't that he was hiding it or anything, but it was an interesting thing to watch. And a lot of my demystification around gay people came from interacting with him.
Yeah.
And also, I think it turned out that the girl ended up being gay, but like wasn't really at the time. Because she would tell you about the things she was doing to her boyfriend.
Oh,
it was that group of kids that was all about kind of like being shocking, and like I was the one with a car that could hold us all, like a 4-door car that could hold us all, and so I ended up getting into the group because I got like put with them in math class because my teacher thought I was a devil worshiper. So I got put with the other alternative kids, and then those kids, he was in their group. And
wait,
you know,
they put you all together?
Yeah,
you're supposed to split up the bad influences.
You would think,
what?
Right? Like, yeah.
Okay.
So she put me with a very goth girl named Lori, who was very into typo negative and like goth stuff, and wore like black lace dresses to school. And this like hair flippingly emo guy before emo was a thing, named Chris. And we were the three of us were in a group in math, and they were very bad at math, and I was too. And yeah, it was quite an adventure, but yeah, so I had a little sort of mini My So-Called Life experience right around the same time. So like, yeah, Pedro was like I was just like, okay, gay guy.
Yeah.
I know a gay guy, you know, and
Yeah.
and the same thing with Ricky. When I would see that character, like, oh, you know, I know one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I think now it's now I don't think there are as many characters who are quote representative of whatever group they are in. There's so I'm thinking of the Cosby Show, that I think was obviously an important show for Black families, but for me as a white kid who didn't know that many Black people, I would watch it and go, oh, okay, well, Black families are like mine. Okay. Now, granted, later there was criticism like that's not the entire Black experience,
Sure.
you know, et cetera. But like for a first thing for me as a kid, that was it made me familiar or it made me feel comfortable with the idea of like, that sounds terrible when I say it.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, I think
it's just
that was
exposure.
Yeah, that was an important, like, television played that important role, I think, in easing that into the culture. The Jeffersons, Sanford and Son, the Cosby Show, like, yeah, that sort of stuff, showing successful Black people. I mean, even Fred Sanford ran a successful junkyard, like, you know, like, he wasn't going to a 9-to-5, like, showing these people sort of countering the stereotypes. And yeah, you can say like, oh, well, that's not the whole Black experience, but like, yeah, true. But like, if you're trying to soften someone's opinion, do what you can do. Like, you know, you don't need them to walk out the other side with a BA in African American Studies or something like.
Yeah. Well, and on the one hand, it's not fair to Black people, gay people, pick your marginalized group to tell their experience in a way that's palatable to white people, straight people, etc., which I think is some of the accusations that they put on the Cosby Show, and that's unfortunate. But given that these shows are made, the Cosby Show's over, My So-Called Life's over, The Real World, that season's over. I am glad that as a white person, as a straight person, I got this exposure to these characters, these real people, and could sort of, you know, creep up on the idea of what you know, not that there just weren't many Black kids in my school. So, but I knew Rudy Huxtable, I knew Vanessa Huxtable, I knew Theo Huxtable, R.I.P. Then I knew Pedro, I knew Ricky. It gets used to the idea.
Yeah,
and
I think it's ultimately short-sighted to critique things that are like Black things that are adjusted for the white gaze, gay things that are adjusted for the straight gaze, like, because you've got to have a doorway. Like, if it's the early 90s and your initial exposure to quote unquote Black culture is gangster rap, like, if it's, you know, Tupac and Biggie and gunfights and, you know, Suge Knight, like, that might be a more authentic experience to a Black person on the streets of LA. But like, there are suburban Black families that need to live side by side with suburban white families, and showing them that, like, hey, I don't know, they're not that much different from you first, and then understanding, hey, actually there's this deep cultural divide, and like there are these big differences, but like, yeah, the table they sit down at has 4 legs and chairs, and, you know, they eat dinner too, like, you know, and they fight kids
over
that argue, and you know, they take the car when there's not supposed to, like, yeah, I think that stuff, it's baby stuff in the long run, but some people need to start with the baby stuff. And so I think things like Ricky in this show or the Cosby Show, they do a good job of just being like, hey, these people are here, and we're not trying to tell you about all of their struggles, but maybe we'll creep some in. Like, the way that Ricky is handled in these first 2 episodes lays the pavement for the coming out, getting thrown out, all this. You know, it lays the groundwork for all of that to come later. And I think that's what you got to do. And like, And the Cosby Show did that sort of stuff. Like it did this whole like, oh, we're just a suburban family. And then they would have an episode about real issues, like, so yeah, I think that stuff's important. And I think people get too caught up in, hey, this thing is not this thing that has mass appeal is also not somehow telling the 400-year story of the Black experience in America. Like, okay.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a way more complicated issue than we could obviously get into on this. And I think neither you nor I is qualified to talk about, certainly about the Black experience and the gay experience, or, ways that you communicate about culture or anything like that. But I don't think that we have these representation characters anymore, which is, there are good and bad elements to that. But I remember Ricky and Pedro and the Huxtables as characters where I was like, okay, well, now I know a gay person because on TV, you know.
Yeah,
so, and that to me, that feels positive in the long run.
It does. And I'm not saying I miss people catering to me. I'm saying I miss the gateway that allows me to get into a world that I don't otherwise understand.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Not tokenizing anybody, but making sure that we have ambassadors, kind of.
Yeah.
So, well, and I think the Ricky's story, in addition to being told in a way that it was made comfortable for straight kids who maybe didn't know anybody who was gay, I think it also resonated with gay kids, and all the teen characters. I think they spoke and they acted in a way that teenagers were like, okay, I see this. This is me. Yeah. I read a lot of, sort of think pieces about My So-Called Life, and they all say prior to this, teenagers on TV didn't act real.
Yeah.
Like
weren't
real
taken
people.
seriously.
Yeah. Which is because I was becoming a teenager just before this, so I don't have a lot of perspective, but I guess, are we thinking of like the Brady Bunch teens or the Happy Days I don't know.
Yeah, or even the Cosby teens, the Cosby kids, the freaking pick like any sitcom, what was the Home Improvement, like
yeah,
JTT, like these, you're treating the problems of the kids on the Cosby Show or Home Improvement are one-off storylines that happen in the course of the main characters having a bigger, more important conflict. Oh, Dr. Huxtable double parked his car and it got towed, and also, Theo's got to get to the dance tonight, and he can't if the car's in the it's just, they just added drama to like the main storyline. Yeah. The drama is the main storyline, and the parent storylines are the secondary storylines in a way that is that at that time was completely foreign. The idea that Angela's story takes precedent, and this infidelity story with the dad that's like introduced and all of this stuff is like, that's like a secondary thing. You're not even like super interested in resolving that as much as you are invested in Angela's problems.
We're going to come back to that because I had forgotten about that part. But yeah, things that would be belittled are taken seriously. And there's just this angst, which people love to talk about teenagers as, oh, they're just so depressed and they whine all the time. And like, you're trying to figure out who you are. That's a painful experience. And you're one person freshman year, and then you're another person sophomore year, or you're trying to be, and all that, and it hurts really. So, the creator of this, her name is Winnie Holzman. Actually, fun fact, she is married to Paul Dooley, who played the dad in Breaking Away.
Okay.
And yes, he's like 40 years older than she is, but okay. The heart wants what it wants. She had written for 30 something and a couple of other things. And I never watched 30 something, but my feel of it is it's very similar to this, like big on the feelings and angst and all that stuff, and written very honestly. And she said, I read a long interview with her about this. She said one of the actors on My So-Called Life had not met her, I guess, and said, is Winnie like our age? Because it was written in such a teenage voice. Yeah. Now, listening to it this time, there's a lot of like in it, like too many.
Maybe.
I cannot like bring myself to like eat a well-balanced meal like in front of my mother. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. But it is much closer to the way that actual teenagers spoke then and speak now, and it's very respectful of the teen journey.
Yeah.
So I said I was going to tell you the name of the second episode, and then I looked it up, and then we got distracted.
That was 30 minutes ago.
I know, that was a long time ago. The second episode is called Dancing in the Dark. I don't really remember why.
Because of the ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Angela gets a fake ID, which I guess was a rite of passage if you were cool. I wasn't, so I never had a fake ID.
I never had a fake ID. Also not cool. Yeah.
I wasn't cool, and there wasn't anything for me to go to use the fake ID at. Like, when I was in college, I suppose I could have used it to get into bars, but I just went to frat parties where the alcohol was free. Yeah. And then I turned 21, and I was like, oh, crap, now I have to buy my own alcohol? That's no fun. And I sort of stopped drinking quite as much. But Angela gets a fake ID, and there's a part that is too clever by half. So Rayanne says, hey, Jordan makes fake IDs. Let's have him make you an ID, and then you'll have an excuse to meet, and et cetera, et cetera. And he makes it for her, and he gives it to Brian, who is Angela's neighbor, and they've been friends forever. And Brian is in love with Angela and never going to happen. And he gives it to Brian. Brian looks at it and it's like, this is supposed to prove she's 21, right? You made her born yesterday. Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. That I cringed at that a lot. So, but, and this is where we see that Jordan is a beautiful creature, but doesn't know how to treat girls like people.
Yeah.
So Angela's sitting in the car with him, supposedly to get her ID, and he just completely pounces on her. And she pushes him off, and she says, I don't open that wide at the dentist, which I'm not sure if she meant her mouth or was he trying to get between her in her pants? Literally.
He meant her mouth. She meant her mouth.
Okay. Probably was going to do the other at some point too. But so Jordan is going to be a terrible boyfriend. Let's just say that right now. Of course. Although I think honestly most 15-year-olds are terrible boyfriends.
Well, right. And I guess he's at least 16.
He was left back.
Oh, he was left back. That's right. So I think that he's also like, that's a subtle way of telling the story of like, he doesn't have it all together.
No,
either.
Not at all.
And has no idea what he's doing. And she has, and I'm sure that this is continuing theme of the show, is that, she has idealized him as this perfect specimen, and he really isn't and doesn't have any idea what he's doing any more than anyone else.
No.
Yeah. And is
really
not talking because he's deep in thought. There are no thoughts in the head.
No. We find out later that he can barely read.
Nice.
In an episode that is called, I think, Why Jordan Can't Read, which I'm thinking must have been a Tori Amos reference, because her first band was called Why Can't Tori Read or something like that. I don't know. That could be completely coincidental. But really the only thing Jordan does well is he leans. Mm-hmm. He leans great. The other thing that we get into in this episode is you referenced the dad and infidelity. Holy crap. Mm-hmm. I had forgotten all about this. So later in the series, he takes a cooking class and meets this woman, and they want to start a restaurant together. And there's this undercurrent of, are they having an affair? Are they not? I don't know. Like they become very close, and Patty picks up on it and is all sorts of uncomfortable. And, so every so often I think of that storyline and I go, Hallie fucking Lowenthal. Cause that was you're supposed to hate her by the end, but I don't think they actually slept together. So I forgot about this part. Mm-hmm. At the end of the first episode, Angela's coming home from a night out with Rayanne that was disastrous, and comes around the corner and sees her dad outside talking with some woman by the car. And it's very animated and not like, oh, it's taking out the trash and talking to the neighbor.
Yeah.
And we don't find out what it is until this episode, when Graham tells his brother, there's a woman who's a customer and we've been talking a lot, and she wants to meet in a motel tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he finally thinks better of it and calls it off, but Angela hears him having a phone call with her saying he can't do it. So I forget how that ends up, but like, Graham, fuck you. Why are you doing this? I don't understand. And I think, so there's this whole thing of, so Patty works at her family's, it's a print shop or something like that. And she's got a pretty senior role. And Angela tells us that Graham was working there temporarily. He was going to do it for a while and then go to chef school, and he never did. And so like she's his boss, and there's all this. And I'm sure in the 90s, this was even more of a felt thing, like, oh, he's been emasculated and blah, 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 and she's a ball buster and blah, 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 blah. But I don't care. You don't. That's so cliched.
Sure.
Having an affair with the customer and like, just, oh, Graham, don't suck. Come on now.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think as much as they're trying to be realistic about the teens, they're trying to be realistic about parents too. Like,
yeah,
you've been married that long, things start to, I mean, the whole episode is about trying to sort of rekindle their romance, so to speak, by him agreeing to do something ballroom dancing that he is not, that she thinks he would never agree to do, and, trying to rekindle things. And that's his attempt to figure things out. And, I think that the story they're trying to tell is that, like, hey, after this long with the same person, things get weird, things get boring, and if you don't maintain that relationship, you forget why it's there, and things can creep in, and he makes the conscious decision not to let things creep in. Well,
bully for him. I don't know. Yes, they do get weird, and it's different, and et cetera, et cetera. But I just, I don't know. But this episode is funny because Patty just impulsively cuts all of her hair off.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see everybody's reactions, and poor thing. Like, whenever any woman gets her hair cut, you've got to say, oh, it looks great. And don't say, oh, I can see your ears.
Yeah.
But I've had a very similar cut to that. I will never get it again.
Yeah.
That hair is hard to pull off, but that was also that was a very 90s mom cut.
Yeah, it was. It was the equivalent of the, like, spiked up in the back
swoop. It was the
can I see your manager?
Can I speak to the manager of the
of the day?
So, I have thoroughly rambled about this, but I think we've hit a lot of the.
Well, yeah. Is there anything we didn't hit that you really want to hit as we run low on time here?
The music in this is great. There's a soundtrack to it, which I have not been able to find on. I think I owned the CD at some point, and I've looked for it on Spotify and various places, and the album's not on there. But I've pieced various things together. But it's a lot of bands that I didn't really know at the time, but now that I do, they just feel very 90s. Juliana Hatfield is one that I did know, and she's all over that. She makes an appearance on the show when Ricky is out in the cold. She plays an angel. I think her name is Angel, and she also is, the music is very 90s, and the sort of the incidental music, the score for the series is by Snuffy Walden, which is a terrible name.
That's a great name.
No. But he's so gifted, and he wrote the theme song, which I listen to on repeat. It's very evocative to me. And he also did music for The West Wing later on.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, anytime Snuffy, terrible name, great music.
Great name.
But the soundtrack is a good album if you can ever find it. I can't. But
yeah, a lot of times these shows, they license all this music, and if they don't license them all, so a lot of times you find these like mega conglomerates. So like Sony, if you make a movie for Sony Pictures, and so long as you make your soundtrack all out of Sony music artists, you basically have the license for eternity. But if you don't, and the soundtrack isn't marketable enough on its own to keep renewing those licenses, or like with something like the Top Gun soundtrack or something, which to this day does good sales numbers. Yeah, those things just get forgotten, and it's so frustrating to be like, man, I loved the soundtrack to this, especially when the soundtrack has like exclusive tracks or like hard to find rare things, B-sides and stuff that are hard to otherwise find. And yeah, the you go looking for it. There was a movie recently where I was looking for this podcast for the soundtrack that I knew existed. Oh, it was Mission Impossible. That soundtrack is, I think, out of print.
Really?
Or out, maybe just out of print, but yeah. So because there's a specific version, I had to lift it from over the credits.
Yeah.
There's a specific version of the Mission Impossible theme that I played during that episode that is on the soundtrack, but the soundtrack's not on any streaming platforms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's that kind of thing of just like the music, the business of music. Video games get re-released 20 years later and have to have all new soundtracks because they use contemporary music and it's too expensive to relicense it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the licensing of music and stuff, which like is right. Artists should get paid. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like
it just makes it hard to recreate your nostalgic experience.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you can find a hard copy, definitely get it because it's a good. It'll take you back to wearing flannel in the coffee house and watching the boy lean against things. I will never stop quoting that because it's just so perfect, such a perfect description. So, well. If you're an Xennial like me, I hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah. Go back and watch it. It's on Hulu, I believe. Go back and watch it.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed this rambling take on My So-Called Life. If you are not, you should watch it and watch the whole thing. It won't take you long.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to tell you, people did not love the show as much as I did, and it was for low ratings. It never came back. So.
Yeah, so many shows get that. They end up that way. They end up as classics later.
Yeah.
Tremors that we did during the Spooktacular, is one of those movies that had a second life because it was able to be released on VHS. Television shows struggle with that because there's not often previously in the 90s and early 2010s, there was not an immediate place that they could be released and consumed and find a new second life as easily because it's hard to put out 22 episodes on a series of VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
So
and even when they're first run, I think, you didn't have on demand, and VCR recording has always been less than reliable.
Yeah.
So yeah, if people weren't there on Thursday night at 8 p.m., then they weren't going to see it, and they only had one shot. So R.I.P. But often I think if it had gone on to several seasons, it would not have been as fondly remembered because that's just how it
so
works.
many shows are that way.
Yeah. So anyway, R.I.P. My So-Called Life and Angela's Crimson Sunshine hair. Well, folks, we would love to know what you think of My So-Called Life. And you can tell us what you think of our rambling on representation in movies and TV too, but don't, because we're not PhDs, so I'm sure there's holes in our argument.
Yeah, no, we just have fun, extended conversations for no reason, because that's otherwise, what are we even here for?
That's a very good existential 90s question. Let's ask Jordan about it.
Like, what are we even here for?
Yeah. So we would love to know what you think about this. You can get in touch with us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email. Our address is ysmypodcast, ysmy for you show me yours @gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, same handle. You can DM us, or if you go to our feed, we have links to our latest episodes and other fun things that we find. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, you will find a new episode. Next week, Dave is hosting. What are we watching next week? Next time, what are we watching next time, Dave?
Get it right.
I know.
I'm trying to think of, I was trying to think about like a holiday, as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, something more holiday themed, but I got nothing. So, I decided the other thing that you do around Thanksgiving is watch wrestling. So there's a Survivor Series. Is a big wrestling event that happens during, I think it's Survivor Series. They once had a giant egg on stage for the whole show, and at the end, a man in a turkey costume named the Gobbledygooker hatched out of it, and it was
Please
wonderful.
Tell me he wasn't Asian.
No, he was Puerto Rican.
Okay. Just when you said Gooker, I was like, oh God. No. But okay.
Anyway, so we are going to watch the wrestling documentary Beyond the Mat.
Okay.
And I'm going to make you do some homework prior to this. Because I need to introduce you to some of the players so that you understand who they are. Because if you don't know about Jake the Snake Roberts, you won't you won't appreciate, or Terry Funk, you won't appreciate their contributions quite as much in the documentary. So
I know the names. I don't know if I would know the names were it not for knowing you.
you already know Mick Foley.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's he plays a large part in it. But
okay.
yeah, so Beyond the Mat, a wrestling documentary that will there's some stuff about family in it.
Okay.
That's especially that Jake the Snake section. So yeah, we'll talk about family on with Jake the Snake Roberts on Beyond the Mat next time.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, come back for that with Beyond the Mat. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.